Hi everyone, this is Chris Buddle, Associate Provost at McGill, bringing you another daily video update. Today I'm actually coming to you from my work from home station, but actually a Zoom conference program. So many of you will become very familiar with different types of web hosting virtual conference platforms. Many instructors and students will use Zoom in their own courses beginning next week here at McGill University. There are other things beyond Zoom that people will also use, but I thought I would just illustrate a few tips and tricks related to Zoom for this update today. So some things to note about Zoom. First of all, you'll see behind me, that is not my living room or my bedroom or my kitchen. That is actually the Yukon Territory. And some platforms allow you to choose a virtual background, and this can be quite useful for a lot of people in case you have activities happening in your house and you'd like to use a different kind of background. You'll also probably want to use a pair of headphones. This is actually a really cheap pair that work really effectively. You don't need necessarily any fancy technology to use a lot of these programs. And in fact, Zoom works really well on mobile phones and tablets as well. So it can be quite accessible. A couple other quick tricks to mention with Zoom and other platforms. Find out where the mute button is. The mute button makes it so that nobody can hear you. And when you enter a conference or a classroom, making sure you're muted is a good idea. Otherwise, there's too much activity and too many voices speaking all at once. And for instructors, you'll likely want to make sure people are muted when they enter the classroom or enter the conference. And that way you don't have all that activity right away. It's also good to find out where the stop video button is. And if you're having bandwidth issues in your own home, you can always stop the video for a little while, and that will often help. There's often a chat feature with these tools as well. The chat feature basically lets a dialog box run alongside the video feed as well, and some people will use that, and it can be quite effective. However, I will caution too much complexity. Try to keep things simple when you're using these platforms, and try not to focus on too many different modalities of delivery. So although the chat in some areas can be quite useful. Most of these platforms also have a raising a hand function, so you don't have to wave. You actually can press a little button, and a virtual hand signals to the host that people might have a question or comment to raise. So that's the first little overview of Zoom. I will say that these platforms take a little getting used to. If you haven't used these sorts of software packages before, it can be a little bit odd, but you will get used to it. And a lot of staff at McGill have been very actively using Microsoft Teams or Zoom or other features over other programs over the last couple of weeks. So people are starting to get more familiar with it. Have patience. It takes a little while to get used to seeing yourself on the screen and also seeing all the faces of everybody else in a larger conference or classroom. So good luck with that, folks. It's going to be okay, but it'll take a little bit of practice. I'm now going to try to share my screen and give you one quick update. Let's see if this works. So students, please note that your instructors certainly should have provided you with information about your class in the coming, that's going to be starting up next week. If not, please contact them or perhaps your academic advisor or supervisor. You need to understand how your class has been adapted for the end of term, given that we've gone to remote instruction and assessment. So students, en français, vous devrez avoir reçu d'informations de votre professeur sur votre cours. Sinon, vous pouvez contacter votre professeur ou peut-être votre conseil pédagogique ou votre supervisor. For graduate students, you can also reach out to your supervisor if you have questions about your own progress with respect to your studies. So that's your little video update for today. It's nice to see all of you. Again, in my virtual background is the Yukon Territory, where I've done field work in the past, and it's a glorious spot. So virtual backgrounds can also take you away, which can be a nice thing to do when we're all spending a lot of time in our own homes and instead of walking on campus. So I hope everyone's doing okay today, and we'll be back tomorrow for another updates. Okay, bye everyone.